Boom. We live. School, motherfucker.
Hey, I heard that shit. Hey, dog, let's drop GM shit again, nigga. I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers that came with 200 clip. I bet that kick on the under. Call my name ain't Flip. I be some the corner. That means I can't slip. I'm skinny and cheese, boy. You tuck it in on clip. Open see your Louis bag. You come with sex bill. You say you be going ham, but you in the wrong zip. You say I be tripping. We call it the biggest trip. On tight of this round game. Call it the vice grip. My t-shirt said fuck the coppers. They work something hill offers. I need me a helicopter to go with these 100 choppers. You know that we call them coppers, but you not a problem solver. Just when you roll, boy, they roll me 100 bottles. Know how to get a nigga. Buy me 100 models. The sweet of this swag. We gon' get to the dollar. Rappers be acting righteous. His ass look hot. Rifles. Criminal minded sniper with drone on assault rifle. 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers. All my looters is shooters. All my shooters is hoodlums. If you jump in that water, you gon' be straight barracuda. We blowing through to get to it. Gonna be some doubt when we do it. And the streets gon' be with it. Them niggas know what you doing. Oh, pursue me, they do me. Like I'm straight out of movie. 12 goals in my mouth and turn your girl to a groupie. What you beefing or playing? I see you leaving, I'm staying. I'm the man on the west side. Choppers hit on the man. 7 grams in a Swisher. And I'm full of that liquor. I'm beating on my chest like who wanna fuck with Gorilla. Birmingham, Alabama, coming straight from the slammer. When it comes to the swag, it's too much for bitches to handle. CDs, bloods, and crips, real niggas complete the bill. T-shirts say fuck the copper. Chop with Chiquita, flip, west side. 100 choppers, I be 100 choppers. Trouble 100 choppers, I bet not get caught. I be 100 choppers, I be 100 choppers. My t-shirts is I be 100 choppers, I be 100 choppers. I be 100 choppers, I be 100 choppers. Land in this helicopter, my t-shirts and fuck the cobble.
You know what I'm talking about? Hey, check this out, right? Boom, first of all, and I'm live. Check this out, right? I want y'all to do Unc Fed a real favor and goddamn come on up in your mindset, right? And understand this the feeling I want y'all to have when y'all watching this YouTube shit, right? You ever been on your lunch break or something, or you ever been just riding around town, then all of a sudden you just say you just want to just chill, you just want some free time, not no meditation time, no shit like that, just you want to chill. So you might goddamn go get you some good shit you got rolled up, or got you a good joint, you know what I'm talking about, and you pull up at the park, you feel me? You just pull up at the park, you can roll down your windows or get out, sit on the bench there, enjoy the lake there, the little ducks running around in the lake there. You know what I'm talking about? The park shit, right? You got a little kid running around the park, merry-go-round and shit, swinging and shit. Birds chirping, sun shining. You know what I'm talking about? Long story short, goddamn, when you get back in circulation and get back moving and run into one of your people, like, man, where the fuck you been, nigga? Where you been at? Oh man, I was at the park. Man, I was at the park watching a little children play. So when you be looking at these fools out here, man, just say, you know what I'm saying, we just watching a little children play. Cause children do children shit. Good for how old you is. See what I'm talking about? We just watching a little children play. Ain't nothing grown about these motherfuckers. See, one thing about a child, what a child gonna do, anytime a child get caught doing something, they gonna deflect. They gonna try their best to blame another motherfucker instead of taking responsibility, accountability, or whatever you want to call the shit. It take a special child. It take a special kind of child to step up into their wrongness and understand the fact that the truth will set you free from an ass whipping, from ridicule, from all that shit. Because all people be want is the truth, just like a parent with a child. All that parent is trying to teach their child is to be truthful, especially not to lie to the parent. See what I'm saying? Did you do that? In a child's mind, thinking they're going to get in trouble, 8 times out of 10, that child's going to say, no, ma'am, because of the fear of thinking something's about to happen. But the whole time, the parent don't want them but the child to tell the truth. You did. They already know the answer before they ask you. They already know the answer before they ask you. You know what I'm saying? Did you do that? They already know the answer. This your test, not theirs. They don't want to fuck you up, but you don't know how to tell the truth, they got to get you fucked up. So for motherfuckers to come out here and just want to try to throw their actions up on a dumbass, contra ass nigga like me, I got so much power to anything wrong other motherfuckers have done or any mistakes other motherfuckers have made, instead of them being grown ass people, they rather put up this illusion that it's Fed's fault. So they just came out into adulthood in this last year. I thought we was all grown on this motherfucker. But some kind of way, I made motherfuckers hate motherfuckers. Last time I checked, I wasn't spearing no hate out here in these YouTube streets. I've been watching hate be speared in the YouTube streets. Huh? Last time I checked, I want the motherfucker call the motherfuckers whores and mofos and get the fuck out of here and bitch, I can't stand this hoe and I can't stand that hoe. Now I'm the reason why you didn't like motherfuckers. But that shit too shall come into fruition. Cause don't nobody believe your bitch ass. It's just all a part of watching children play. We just gonna continue to just watch a little script. But not. That's all I had to say on that shit. That's all I got to say on that shit. Cause whole play, and children do what children do. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about niggas running around like I actually got that head. I ain't never did a private live with none of these motherfuckers. I ain't never gave no instructions to no motherfuckers. Only thing I told motherfuckers be to think for yourself. If I tell you anything, go check behind me. Fact check behind me. How can I be a manipulating motherfucker when I'm telling you at every step of the way? Don't take my word for shit. You go and find out for your motherfucking self. The shit just don't make sense unless motherfuckers been playing. Now I'm gonna get into this as a bull so low, man. I ain't got too much shit to say, man. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna put this out here, right? Each individual, and there's a billion motherfuckers. Each individual, us as individuals, as mortals, we're not immortality, all that immortality shit, all that shit come within the spectrums of goddamn traveling through your ethers of darkness. You can be whatever you want to be in your dreams. Your thoughts, know-how, and your physical, you understand, once you come out of your meditation stage or whatever you're dreaming about, once you come back into reality, it's up to you to put that shit in motion, to make it, to create it, for it to become a reality. They say if you can speak it, if you can see it, you can bring it into fruition. Just because you think it don't mean it's gonna happen. You got to put effort towards making it happen. But what I'm saying is, each individual that's part of this all have its own connection through its conscious, through your conscious. That's what registers you. That's how you register to the all. We all connected to the all. You don't need no instructions for that. When you go to sleep and you go to dreaming and you go to moving around through other dimensions and traveling through the darkness, and the darkness is your light, and you riding through that motherfucker, and you seeing shit, and you feeling shit, and you loving shit, and you being inspired by your thoughts, You being inspired, and inspirational thoughts coming to you in your dreams, and you seeing people you haven't seen in a long time, people that's dead, people that you might don't even know that you're gonna meet yet. Waking up and meeting the people that I seen you in my dreams. I don't even know y'all see. It was you. Shit like that. See, that's individualism. That's some authentic shit that's done by you and your consciousness and how you're registered to the goddamn universe. This universe ain't got no motherfucking secrets from nobody. You connected to the all. So once you go into your meditation or whatever you want to call it, your solitude, and you close your eyes and you go to traveling, most of the time you go to traveling, your mind gonna think you going through the heavens, what they call the heavens. Because that's where all the stars and the beautiful thoughts come from. Ain't nobody goddamn getting no beautiful thoughts looking down at the motherfucking dirt and no rocks and shit. When you look up, oh man, it's a goddamn huge thing. And you close your eyes, man, you can go anywhere you want to go. You can have any thoughts you want to have. And when you go to sleep, you don't need no book to tell you that you can dream. You don't need no book to tell you that you can close your eyes and go anywhere you want to go individually. See what I'm saying? But I'm gonna show you this where the evil shit come in, and this where the dot has to be connected with this religion thing. That's all I'm trying to show people. You know what I'm talking about? Once you come down, you can stay there long as you want to. And when you come out of that stage, it's up to you individually to make your individual thoughts and create. You can create whatever you want. You can make this be whatever you want it to be. But see, once you start trying to superimpose your thoughts, so a man thinketh, so is he. Once you start trying to superimpose your thoughts upon other people, that's some evil shit. Once you come out of your imaginary realm, you call it imaginary, your energy, your whatever you call it when you go to meditate and going into, you know what I'm saying, going into the other realm of energy and getting inspiration or whatever you want to call that shit. Once you go in there and come out and say why you was in your meditation, in your cave, why you was somewhere alone, sitting in a park in a goddamn Indian stance with your hands folded up and just thinking, it was some God that came to you and gave you the key to the all. See, that's some evil shit. You already know if it'll be a power, it's some bullshit. Once you try to superimpose your imagination upon someone else and enforce that shit as being some goddamn law, that this God that's talking to you in your imaginary mind, and coming through your motherfucking melanated energy, and you got the sickness in your mind to come back and say, I'm gonna inflict this upon the people. I'm gonna make motherfuckers believe whatever I want to believe. Actually, I don't even believe a decent human being would have that kind of thought as they sit there and pray. Whatever it is that you do when you asking for extra strength to make it through, to pray, whatever it is you're doing, I don't believe a sane, decent individual will come down and say, God told me you ain't shit, and I'm the shit. Huh? I believe it's allowed to rip. But what I'm gonna do, man, I'm just gonna play these little videos. I got these little videos. I'm gonna play some groundwork. You know what I'm saying? As a bull, so but I'm gonna play some groundwork, and then maybe y'all gonna understand that them 500 years I've been telling y'all about right in our face. They pimping the ink pen, writing with the left hand and writing with the right hand at the same time. It all was a big plan to take over the Western world, to take over the America. All this shit planned just for world power. And they started when they started writing that damn book. And we fucked up when we started using that book as actual history when it ain't, my nigga. You know what I'm talking about? Real shit. Well, I'm gonna goddamn play it right here, man. I'm Gucci, man. Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I know y'all gonna goddamn run up out this bitch. Y'all don't want no real shit. We gonna get down like this. I said, boom. What up, interview? What up, Bam Bam? Hey, what up, Black Cuban? I seen you, Black Cuban.
All glory go to the Creator. It's an honor to be here today. I love the theme, American healing. Well, first, let's think about something. Where did America come from?
I got one more thing to say, too. People always talking about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but they really ain't hear the jewels that they was dropping. They really ain't hear the goddamn jewels that they was dropping. That we was already here before all that shit. And if you understand the time periods, once you put your timeline together of this Roman Empire and all that bullshit that they done created, for us to goddamn, it's just like an onion, man. If you the cocoon and you the seed that's in the middle of that onion and you done been layered with the lies, layered, they done put layers and layers of indoctrination and layers of lies on you. And once you realize that you've been lied to, it's up to you to start peeling out that shit. Some people don't want to peel out that shit. But every time you figure out somebody lied, then you need to pull that out of your mental. You need to undress. Got to peel that off. And anything that got down connected to that lie and try to bring that lie back into your life, you need to peel it off too. Nah, you try to bring them lies back off here, peel it off. You got to peel this shit off individually. It's up to the individual to goddamn wake up to a full awakening. You see what I'm saying? If goddamn you try to bring some lies back into my realm, that means some kind of way you're a part of some shit that you got to peel you off too. You got to go bye. And you got to keep, every time you wake up, every one lie you find out, you ought to be taking off 10 or 15 layers of dumb shit. So you got people out here that are goddamn peel off one lie and then go to the next realm and motherfucker say something to them. They believe it, and with the shit that they believe, it bring the lie back you just peeled off. You take them goddamn one step forward and 15 steps back. You got to peel yourself like a goddamn banana, like an onion. You got to peel this shit off. Because we all been fucked up with this indoctrination. Dr. King said we were already here. We were already here. So that means we was already here, so we already know they lying about this here. So what else is they lying about? All that shit. All that shit. You open up your mind, you'll be able to see it.
Have it always been America?
Goddamn. Malcolm X said, goddamn, Plymouth Rock landed on us. We ain't landing on Plymouth Rock. That means we ain't came across this motherfucker and landed over here. Them hoes came over here and landed on us. Y'all gotta catch this shit, man.
Or was it just created to be America? Who are the real Americans? America keep changing and changing and changing. Let's go back in time when the American Indians looked like I look. And roamed the southeast part of the United States freely. Love what the mayor said. We have to tell the truth. We cannot heal America until we fix the foundation. Can we start right?
Why would America need to be healed? Why would America need to be healed? The same way they fucking up creation right in front of your face now. Because they came with a plan to exterminate. Martin Luther King said, our destiny has been mixed up with America's destiny. Did he not say that? Put an 8 in the chat if you know Martin Luther King said that goddamn our destiny has been mixed up with America's destiny. That's what he said. That's what he said. You know the definition of destiny? What your future holds. So they came and goddamn imposed their destiny upon you and took control of your future. Your destiny. You don't know who the fuck you is. And then you got people that come out here and try to help you to some real shit, and you vibrate so low in your chakras, all you know is attack and try to be scheming and trying to figure out the next plot for some dumb shit that nigga mind ain't even much on, my nigga. Because if I was on the dumb shit that y'all motherfuckers or these motherfuckers was on, oh man, it'd have been a whole different play. I ain't on none of that shit y'all want me to be on. You just show yourself. I've been the same motherfucker the whole time, and I'm gonna leave the same motherfucker. Straight like that. So all you little so-called demons and devils, do what you do. I chose to put myself up on the cross for the people, nigga. Yeah. Been doing this shit in real life, nigga. Fuck you talking about? But let's get it, my nigga.
Hawa bless, beautiful people. Tawada. Hey. Ampetu. Washte. Familia. This is part 5 of the Indigenous American to African American series. I'm so excited to present this, these next 2 or 3 videos that I got coming. Much first of all, to Chief Warhorse for opening up and reminding us of our foundation here in America. These next 2 parts, I'm going to call it a paper genocide special. We're going to break old assumptions and indoctrinations. We're about to get real deep, fam. And I feel these next parts will make it unquestionable who were the real American natives or aboriginals. Your ancestors are calling out to you. Do you hear them? The time is here. No more classifications, no more tags or made-up races. Know who you are. You know it's part of your family stories. Wake up. And I call out to any so-called scholar watching this, hearing this right now. If you're still not convinced, even with the last 4 parts of this series.
And just my little opinion, this kind of work right here, this your Bible right here. Your heritage, your family history should be your guide.
Now, and I know y'all see me up here. Y'all see me. I'm right
That
there.
should
It
be the
says
only thing
holiness. What's up, y'all?
That should be your religion. What's your religion? Catholic, Baptist, man, my religion is my family. My religion is my roots. My religion is my ancestral truth. That should be your religion, my nigga.
And the other information out now around the plane, you better pay close attention to these next parts. The gig is up. Isaiah 43. Let's begin.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for allowing myself and my family. Well, I'm appreciative to be here amongst all of my family at this point. Thank you. I will not necessarily keep this brief, but I will keep it as short as I can for just telling you guys how appreciative I am to be here. And there was a certain point.
I'm gonna pause this real fast. I see he got people in here. I'm just saluting Unc. Y'all know I talked to Unc. I keep in contact with him. I talked to him about a week ago. I told him I was gonna go on his page and just let the people know he'd be back in a couple months. But yeah, he's still holding down. He's still tight. Everything's still good. He's still chopping it up. So I just want, you know what I mean? Just reminiscing on the old man. You feel me? So that's all I'm doing. So I'm gonna be doing a couple lives like this, just playing some of his old shit from the old pages. All right, salute y'all.
In my life where I had come almost at a crossroads with my dad, my sister, my friends, my grandparents. And I had no idea kind of what direction to go into because I had lost a sense of a foundation that I know I had lost a long time ago. And knowing that my mom passed and left me such a powerful, empowering family, such a standing rock as well as all the United States Nation. I mean, to be a part of it now and not just outside supporter, but knowing that this is family for life. And blood couldn't make us any closer. And our journeys have been directed in so many different ways, but yet we're still standing here August 23rd, 2018, embracing each other as if we haven't lost any time. And it's really special for me to be here because I lost my mom at a very, very young age, and I had no idea that I would end up belonging to almost 4 different families. My dad's side, my grandparents' side, my mom's side, and ultimately my own family that I'm starting now with my young daughter, Azori Elizabeth Irving, who I named after my mom. But this is a very special day simply because I get to really, really be intimate with a lot of individuals that I haven't necessarily met face to face all of yet. But the fact that the support has been there, even without necessarily knowing each other, shows how special and what it means to be a native of this country and be a Native American. And for me, I had no idea. I had no idea about the history. I had no idea how inclusive this group is and what it means to be part of Standing Rock and be part of the United States Nation. So I want to thank all you guys for hosting myself, my sister, my best friend Brett Carroll, my grandparents, and the fact that I get to meet my family finally. I mean, you guys have no idea. This is finally meeting my mom's family, and now I'm with you guys forever, and I hope that you don't mind that because I don't mind it either. So
Powerful shit. Shout out to Kyrie Irving, man.
This man right here, often said, Heather, got me teary-eyed right now.
You crying,
man, I'm tears. These are tears of joy right here, Heather.
Okay.
Tears of gold. Yeah, man.
In all due respect to every race, niggas know black people don't crack. Like, blacks don't crack.
Yeah, black don't crack.
Right.
Yeah, what's it consistent?
Well, indigenous don't crack. The natives don't crack.
The natives don't
crack. You can say a native, and he could be...
Indigenous don't crack. Natives don't crack. Who the real indigenous natives? Who imposed their destiny upon us? Who manifested their destiny? Who was the authoritarian figure of the manifest destiny? It was their God. Huh? Manifest destiny. Because they wrote a book and said that their God said that your shit is their shit. And you got a problem with understanding who wrote it? That's crazy.
90 years old and still looking 50. I'm talking for the natives.
Yeah.
I like when it comes to talking about African Americans, I have no education with that. Period. I don't. I'm not even connecting to that anymore because that's a system.
What?
That's like connecting to, hey, he's a bad guy. Don't hang with him. Oh, hey, I'm gonna find out for myself. I'm not African American at all. My folks is not from Africa.
Hey, look here.
Cause that's a system. That's
I'm
like
gonna play this back, y'all. I'm gonna play this back, cause when I heard this boy talking like this here, you know he had one at the old Gucci, but when I heard that,
when it comes to talking about African Americans, I have
this had really surprised me when I got
me teary-eyed right now to see it. Yeah, man, I'm teary. These are tears of joy right here, Heather.
Okay.
This really had surprised me when I first found out Walker was walking in a weight stage of mine. Real talk. I think my son's still in here. When I first heard goddamn Walker speaking, I said, I ain't know Walker was. So you can't judge no book by its cover, man. But motherfucker scared of truth, bro. No matter what shade you is, man, the truth got to be the truth. Motherfucker got to stand up in that truth, bro.
Cheers of gold.
Yeah, man.
In all due respect to every race, niggas know black people don't crack. Like black don't crack.
Yeah, black don't crack. That was,
It rhymes.
yeah, what's it inconsistent?
Well, indigenous don't crack. The natives don't crack.
The natives don't
You can see a native and he could be 90 years old and still be 50. I'm talking for the natives.
Yeah.
I like
When it comes to talking about African Americans, I have no education with that. Period. I don't. I'm not even connecting to that no more. Cause that's a system. That's like connecting. Say, hey, he's a bad guy. You don't hang with him. Oh, hey, I'm gonna find out for myself. I'm not African American at all. My folks is not from Africa, and a lot of people in this room, folks, ain't from Africa. Might be a couple, but people just don't understand. I ask my grandma, "Yo, grandma, what's your background?" She like Redfoot and Blacktail Indian. What? Yeah, my mother and my father, we 100% Indians. That's my other grandma. We got Cherokee in us, and European and Italian, a little Dominican. It's great.
What? My people, Fed, Cherokee, huh? Yeah, South Carolina way.
I'm like, what the fuck? That's why I'm African. Y'all look at me funny. Like, nigga, I'm African. Like, you're not though. Like, you're not. 80% of slaves were already here. It was natives. It's crazy.
80, where you get that number from?
Shit, I just checked the books.
Which book?
Yeah.
I got a whole laptop full of this shit.
Yeah?
Yeah, just for me reading. It's not a solid book like, hey, there's only 1,000 slaves came here. And nah, nigga, you gotta read. You have to literally read. Like, I'm so deep into it, I don't think about a slave ship. I think about what was a slave ship called? Jesus. What the fuck was a slave ship called that Christopher Columbus was on? Who funded that slave ship? Who paid for that boat?
Huh? The what it was? The good ship Jesus and the grace, what it was? The grace of God and Mother Mary or whatever the fuck the folks in the slave ships and shit. Can't find that shit nowhere. Because some nigga came out of his ether and decided to impose his will upon other people. Shit.
Like, what was these folks' race? Like, what was their background?
Our world is changing incredibly quickly, and that should be music to your ears if you want to invest.
So I just wanted to start out reading from this couple of books here. This first one called Slavery as it Relates to the Negro or African Race, examined in the light of circumstances, history, and the Holy Scriptures, with an account of the origin of the black man's color, causes of his state of servitude, and traces of his character, as well in ancient as in modern times, with strictures on abolitionism. All right, so this was written in 1843. Just want to read here. It says, let's start from here, this part. In accordance with this statement of Josephus, in rendering a reason why God called the two first human beings by but one name, and that name being Adam, or the red man, and woman, red, right? We find that the Hebrew language establishes that the words Adam, Adama, Adami, and Adama have all similar meaning. First, Adam, as above, signifies earthy man, red. Second, Adama signifies red earth or blood. Third, Adami signifies my man, red, earthy, human. Fourth, Atma signifies.
What that boy talking about them red clay folks? He ain't talking about that red clay, is it, man? All right, come on.
Earthy red or bloody, all which words are of the same class and spring from the same root, which was Adam, signifying red or copper color. Again, red or copper color. We're just talking about copper colored races, right, of America. Webster's Dictionary, 1828.
Okay.
American, a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper colored races found here by the Europeans, but now
all the time we got to keep telling you this definition. Washington Redskin. I got to tell you about the goddamn red man chewing tobacco and shit there through there. That's what the American definition of American was in 1828. The copper tone races that was found here by the Europeans. Don't whoop my ass. Get this true.
applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Again, copper-colored races. From a view of this fact, it is difficult to account for the reason of the name of the first man and woman unless they were created red, instead of white or black, as it is well known that the Hebrew language is governed in its power of naming visible existences, as of animals, fowls, fishes, by their appearances or natures, and frequently by both, as in the case of the name Adam, which not only represents the hue of his skin, but that also of his intellectual existence or human nature. Thus, this Jewish historian, as well as the genius of the Hebrew language, furnishes us with a clue like the golden thread in the labyrinth of the subterranean palace of ancient Thebes, leading to the right conclusion on this subject, namely that Adam, with all the antediluvian race, were red or a copper color people. Again, that Adam and all the antediluvian race, or the people who lived before the flood. We're talking about you, ancient aboriginal of America, right? You were red or a copper colored people, and you still are. And regarding copper-colored races, right? In the book, we got this in part 1 or 2 of the series, Crania Americana, a comparative view of skulls of various aboriginal nations of North and South America. In regards to the Inca, the Peruvians, down towards the bottom middle, it says their complexion is a dark brown and their hair long black and rather coarse. Down in the bottom, it says, to these observations of Clavigero may be added a few others from Humboldt, who describes them as possessing a swarthy and copper color. Again, a swarthy and copper color. Swarthy means black or dark skin, and copper color. And in another part of this book, it says here, now as the Jews are red or a dark copper-colored race, a dark copper-colored race, really? Because the Jews that they show us today, these Ashkenazi Jews, they don't look dark copper-colored. But they're talking about Hebrews here, not Jews. There's no J's in Old Paleo-Hebrew. All right? Reading from this book called An Abridged History, Africa and Her People by Rudy Johnson. And it says here, Noah, whatever may have been the hue of his complexion, was the father of sons of very different complexions. Japhet most likely was the white one, and from him descended the Caucasian race, as we shall presently show, the fairest of the human races. So the Ashkenazi Jew, as we mentioned earlier, they come from Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is a son of Gog, I believe, from Magog, but I believe it's Gog. And those are both sons of Japhet. They're not even Shem. The Hebrews come out of Shem. So these are not Hebrews that are in the state of Israel today. And the continuing says Shem was copper-colored. Again, Shem was copper-colored. Who also is copper-colored? Here we go again. American, a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. All right, Shem was copper-colored and the progenitor of the Hebrews and of the copper-colored races. All right, of you. You are of Shem. When the third son was presented to Noah, he exclaimed, him, example, black, For the signification of the Hebrew term means heat, hence black, and from him descended all the dark, complex races, as we shall see from the countries they inhabited and for which they were divinely adapted by color and constitution. From the book we have here, American Antiquities and Discoveries in the West by Joshua Priest. And it says here, but as it respects the complexions of these heads, now they're talking about Shem, Japheth, and Ham, of the nations of the earth, we remark as follows. Shem was undoubtedly a red or copper-colored man. Again, Shem was undoubtedly a red or copper-colored man, which was the complexion of all the antediluvians. This conclusion is drawn from the fact that the nations inhabiting the countries named as being settled or peopled by the descendants of Shem have always been and now are of that caste. We deem this fact as conclusive that such was also their progenitor. We're talking about the copper-colored races of America, right? Shem, as that the great and distinguishing features and complexion of nations changed not materially. Shem was the father of the Jewish race or Hebrews, who are of the same hue, varying is true, some being of a darker and some of a lighter shade, right? Different kinds of hues is copper color, but all the same, right? Are arising from secret and undefinable principles placed beyond the research of man, and also from amalgamation by marriage with white and with the darker nations as the African. So it's separate, right? Then the African, these copper-colored descendants of Shem, different.
And if they existed, how Noah gonna have 3 different races of kids by one woman, unless they're talking about a land. Unless they're talking about a land. Unless they're talking about a land in the Middle East. How do Noah have sex with one wife and have 3 different races of kids? You got to be able to separate the real from the fake, man.
But to corroborate our opinion that the antediluvians were of red or copper complexion, we bring the well-known statement of Josephus that Adam, the first of men, was a red man made of red earth, called virgin earth, because of its beauty and pureness. The word Adam, he also says, signifies that color which is red. Again, copper-colored races.
I gotta go to my nigga tonight. We gotta go up in the sky tonight. We gotta fuck that globe up tonight.
There was a lot of people that was using what we call pencil genocide. In other words, they were changing documents in the town halls and this and that. And unless you had some question about it, you didn't even know it. So, for example, in my dad's family, my Aunt Marion, my Aunt Josephine, and my Uncle Lewis were down as Indian. Uncle Lawrence and my father were down as black. My mother's birth certificate, she was born on Cogswell Street, which is Pawcatuck, Connecticut. And the doctor, knowing that she wasn't black, naturally, because he was very well familiar with the Babcock family, put her down as white. And a lot of us were put down as white just so we would not have that stigma of being black.
From the book, Africans and Native...
I told you, I looked up boy, and boy was goddamn Caucasian. So boy over there know with his Asian ass. Y'all playing, man.
Americans by Jack Forbes. I just wanted to emphasize something he says right in the beginning of the book, what his purpose is for writing this. And it says, the primary purpose of this study is not to write a comprehensive account of Native American African relations, but rather to establish a sound empirical and conceptual basis for further study in this area. And more importantly, to demonstrate beyond any doubt that old assumptions must be set aside. All right? Your old assumptions, your own hijacks, these must be set aside. This latter is especially true as regards the extent of Native American African mixture and the significant genetic contribution of Americans to present day black, in quotes, right? Black.
You gotta shout out Mills. I gotta turn that shit down. What up, Mr. Milster? That's my guy. Tell him he's my guy.
Or Afro-American or African-American in quotes. So he's telling you, again, that you have to really set aside all the assumptions of what you think a so-called black or African-American is when it comes to how much extent of Native American mixture there is in you, right? Talking about you, right? So-called black, so-called Afro-American populations in the Caribbean, Brazil, the United States, and elsewhere. Again, this latter is especially true as regards the extent of Native American African mixture and the significant genetic contribution of Americans to present-day black or Afro-American populations in the Caribbean, Brazil, the United States, and elsewhere.
People of blended backgrounds have always had to negotiate their identity in sometimes complex, even confusing ways. Much of the confusion that has affected relations between African American and Native American people is rooted in the early American experience. To most white Europeans in the colonies, people of mixed black and Indian background were simply colored or mulattoes.
And in 18th century parlance, at least in New England, mulatto means a person of indefinite pigmentation. That indefinite pigmentation could be a result of racial mixing. That's not necessarily the case. That person could be a mixed European Indian, could be a mixed European African, could be an African Indian mixture, or could simply be an Indian person who Europeans assumed had a vague sort of brownish skin color.
Chapter 7. The classification of Native Americans as mulattoes in Anglo-North America. Contemporary scholarly and popular literature in the United States has largely ignored the significance of widespread Native American ancestry among the Afro-Americans, right, so-called Negro or Black, and also of African ancestry among many Native groups, Dodge the hijack. And I'll show you why I say that later on. The consequences of this neglect are far-reaching, and this is especially true in relations to studies of the evolution of music, folk tales, social organization, and other aspects of culture.
Well, my neighborhood used to think I was Cuban at the time because I looked different, so I guess the way it works is people are so used to seeing what is depicted as an Indian within the movies, the old movies and things, so if you don't look that way, they don't expect you to be Indian. They think you're either black or Hispanic or something else.
So in this book, right, Africans and Native Americans by Jack.
You know what I was telling y'all about them old cowboy moves and shit? You put me on to see a black man on a cowboy move, the first thing come to my mind, damn, he must have came from Africa. With the indoctrinated system that we was up on. The movies, program, television, program, television programming. The Pilgrims and the Indians. You know what you think about when you hear that shit? You don't think about yourself? Trying to find our identity around here, bro.
Forbes. I just really wanted to show because people say that, oh, you probably read that in that book by Jack Forbes, because what I want to show you is that these are not his opinions. The reason I like his book mainly, not because of the information he writes in it, because of the sources which he puts here. And every chapter, almost every paragraph has a footnote, and you can go verify each source. It's all in his book. At the end, all right? For example, down here in the bottom, you see I have it highlighted. It says, as early as the late 19th century, the 19th annual report of the Bureau of American Ethnology noted that a considerable proportion of the blood of the Southern Negroes of the U.S. is unquestionably Indian.
One of the most challenging parts of meditation is what's sometimes called the dark side.
Disclaimer. Let's go.
And I just wanted to show you this example here. As it says in this book here, it's actually a journal or letters that were written to the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution by J.W. Powell. He had a whole bunch of these volumes. They're called the Annual Report of the Bureau of American Ethnology. This is volume 19, or the 19th annual, as you see here, report. This comes in two parts. In part one of this, which was written in 1900, it says, in some part of the book, it says, and I have the book, so I'm the one who made this image. So, in regards to the contact between the two races, by which such stories could be borrowed one by the other, it is not commonly known that in all the southern colonies, Indian slaves were bought and sold and kept in servitude and worked in the fields side by side with Negroes up to the time of revolution. So they're saying there was Indians working in the fields, right, in all these plantations, all the way until 1776 at least. All right, so which one was the Indian and which one was the so-called black or Negro? Well, how can you tell them apart? How come? I mean, we've never seen any difference growing up, right? It's always showing us a so-called Negro as a slave. All right. Continuing, it says, not to go back to the Spanish period when such things were the order of the day, and they're talking about, and we're going to see in the next parts of this video series how the Spanish and Portuguese was enslaving the American Indian by the thousands. We find the Cherokee as early as 1693 complaining that their people were being kidnapped by slave hunters. Hundreds of captured Tuscarora and nearly the whole tribe of the Apalachee were distributed as slaves among the Carolina colonists in the early part of the 18th century, while the Natchez and others shared a similar fate in Louisiana. We know the whole Natchez was chained up and sent to the Caribbean. We read that in Lies My Teacher Told Me. And as late as least of 1776, Cherokee prisoners of war were still sold to the highest.
In real life, my grandmother was goddamn Chinook and Cherokee. But my dad, my father, when he left South Carolina, he promised himself he wasn't never going back there. I don't know why. I found this out like last year when I really went ahead and goddamn dug into my shit. That's why I came with the CIA, Cherokee Indigenous Aboriginal. Well, my grandmother was mixed with Chinook and Cherokee, and we was from South, and she was from a tribe in South Carolina. A lot of people was in South Carolina, anyway, that's just my little personal shit.
For the same purpose. At one time, it was charged against the governor of South Carolina that he was provoking a general Indian war by his encouragement of slave hunting. Furthermore, as the coast tribes dwindled, they were compelled to associate and intermarry with the Negroes until they finally lost their identity. That's how they're describing it here, but it was always you. And were classed with that race. So they're saying the Indians became the Negro. That's what they're saying. Were classed with that race or classified together. So that a considerable proportion of the blood of the Southern Negroes is unquestionably Indian. Again, so that a considerable proportion of the blood of the Southern Negroes is unquestionably Indian. You are Indian. It's unquestionable. Annual report of the Bureau of American Ethnology to the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institute, Volume 19. A considerable proportion of the blood of the Southern Negro is unquestionably Indian. As you can see here, Ute Warrior, so-called Negro, Amanda Lewis, MTV News, Creek, Blackfoot. So again, you see how we were able to back that up. Also, it says here, the 1937 doctoral dissertation of James Hugo Johnston, belatedly published many years later, went further. There developed in the colonial period much intermixture of the Indian and Negro slave, Negro, parentheses, that doesn't say African, The class commonly called the mulatto is the result in many instances of the union of three racial elements. To the visitor in the South, the physical characteristics of many Negro slaves bore witness to their Indian origin. All right, that's what Mr. James Hugo Johnston said in a 1937 doctoral dissertation, and we actually went over that on part 1 of this series, I believe. All right, you can go back. Continuing says, the end of Indian slavery came with the final absorption of the blood of the Indian by the more numerous Negro slave or other so-called Indians that were coming from other parts of America. But the blood of the Indian did not become extinct in the slave states, for it continued to flow in the veins of the Negro. Again, but the blood of the Indian did not become extinct in the slave states, for it continued to flow in the veins of the Negro. It is you. It still is you. In an article published in the Journal of Negro History, Johnston remarked, where the Negro was brought into contact with the American Indian, the blood of the two races intermingled, the Indian has not disappeared from the land, but it is now part of the Negro population of the United States.
When we were coming up, it was a bad stigma, I guess, to be Native American. And so, I mean, you was just classified as black, or that's the way you went. And, you know, a lot of the older people, they never told you. I mean, it was a long time before I really found out what my heritage was.
A lot of people that go through the museum, and they go into the portrait gallery, the last exhibit that you're going to see on the second floor, and there's portraits of Mashantucket Pequot people. And they walk in and they're like, they're not Indian, they're black, American.
If you look at the old censuses, you will see people who clearly we know are Native American ancestry categorized as colored people or mulattoes.
We were sitting on a plane one day, my wife and I talking Cherokee, and a lot of the African Americans didn't know what we were. A lot of the Hispanics didn't know if we were Jamaican or Cuban or Latino, and the white passengers in the plane certainly didn't have a clue because that's the first time they ever heard Cherokee spoken. So we thought that's unique. You know, it takes a Cherokee to understand Cherokee. So I thought that was real amusing. We sitting on the plane talking, everybody staring at us. I don't think they were staring at us because I was black and Indian. They were staring at us because they didn't know what we were saying, conversing in, or what language.
Brought to you by Holland Storeview. Here is Ian Harding.
That's why I can't go to sleep. I ain't sleeping though. We gotta get to it.
So the author tells us here, it says, long ago, when first working with my own Powhatan Lenape people of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and surrounding areas, I discovered that the meaning of racial terms was a controversial issue. I learned that terms such as mulatto and colored, again, mulatto and colored, this is very important. We're gonna talk about this, right? Were used or had been used in Virginia in a quite different way from their usage in most books, including modern dictionaries. All right, it was being used back in those times, used differently. I also discovered that many questions were not answerable within the context of the latter, such as what do you call a person of mixed American, European, and African ancestry? No one provided any answer because it seems the American mixture with the African was generally subordinated to a focus upon or a fascination with only the black-white nexus. All right, so he continues saying the modern dictionaries all stated that a mulatto was the child of a black and a white or someone of mixed black and white ancestry. But where did that leave those who were also part Indian? All right, this is important what he's trying to get to, all right? So he says, in any case, I discovered that Native American descendants had been legally defined as mulattoes in Virginia in 1705 without having any African ancestry. Again, they were calling Indian mulattoes in Virginia in 1705 without having any African ancestry. In any case, I discovered that Native American descendants had been legally defined as mulattoes in Virginia in 1705 without having any African ancestry. Again, Indians or so-called Native American or American natives were being called mulattoes in Virginia in 1705. We're going to run into this a lot in a lot of different cases, different years. Again, without having any African ancestry. What does that mean? Because they tell us again that mulatto is supposed to be an African mixed with a white European. That's what's supposed to be a mulatto. All right, so how do you get mulattoes without any African ancestry? All right, it was just judging you as a mulatto, not because of they thought you were African mixed with a white European, just because you were light skinned or lighter than what a darker hue, copper colored person. You know what I mean? All right, so he's saying that with here, thus I knew that the dictionaries were wrong and that there was a lot that was hidden from view by the way most authors had written about the southern United States, about slavery, and about colored people. I later discovered also that the same thing was true as regards to the Caribbean, Brazil, and much of the rest of the Americas. All right, the rest of the Americas. By way of illustration and attempting to grapple the problem of black African Native American mixture, and especially with the question of to what extent African Americans throughout the Americas are part American Indian, it is first necessary to focus upon a clarification of such racial or ethnic terms as were used in the colonial and early national periods. This is important because this is the tags they were labeling you. These weren't classifying you as race. It was just what they were seeing as color, and that couldn't determine your race. They were just guessing based on what you looked like. So they say like terms like mulatto, pardo. We hear that a lot in the Spanish books. Colored, free colored, Negro.
The whole scheme was to take the land. That was the whole. The whole scheme of things was to take the land. All the way down to that Septuagint Bible they wrote. That's the point of origin of the attack. The Renaissance period when they made, just like when they made this fictitious shit come true and enforced that shit upon the people. We're going to get, hey, look, the whole scheme was to take the land.
Sambo or Sambo, Musti, and Mestizo. As noted, many modern writers, whether popular or scholarly, have simply assumed that they could transfer 16th, 17th, or 18th
took the land by stealing your identity.
Century racial terms to contemporary usage without any critical examination of the meaning. All right, for example, it has been assumed generally that a mulatto of, let us say, 1600 would be the same racial background as a mulatto of 1865 or of 1900, or that a colored person, right, like your ancestors are in their census records, right, of 1830 would be the same as a colored person of 1930. All right, so they're saying, it's not the same because these were just tags that were putting on people. It didn't classify their race. Moreover, it has been assumed that terms such as free Negro and free colored can be used interchangeably, and that one could, in more recent usage, substitute free black for either of these. Either of these could be a so-called Negro or black person. That's what he's saying. I'm going to quickly read from this book. It's called Indians of North America, the Powhatan Tribes, by Christian F. Feast. So on page 69 of this book, in regards to the black codes in Virginia, that they were established in, I believe, let me see, it tells the years, 1705. All right, so it says down here in the bottom, it says, at the same time, however, the black code classified those Indians living outside the reservations as free persons of color. So they made an imaginary line, right? And they created the reservations. So if you were outside of that imaginary line, you were actually, instead of called an Indian or classified as an Indian, you were being classified as a free person of color. What does that tell you? That person was a so-called Negro, right? Who are they calling colored this whole time in the United States? Right? You know that, right? So look how they play with words, simply because you're on one side of the fence. A legal status they shared with free blacks and mulattoes. So a legal status they shared with free blacks and mulattoes. So they're telling you straight up that the term free colored actually meant Indians, because it says that they met the same legal status as free blacks, another term, right? Another tag they put on you, and mulattoes. Again, mulatto, right? That word mulatto, we've already gone over that, right? We see it again here. Indians so classified were now prohibited from hunting on lands claimed by white Virginians. They were also barred from holding public office and from serving as witnesses in courts of law.
What?
Marriages between Indians and whites had already been outlawed in 1691, despite the example of Pocahontas and John Rolfe. Now, children with one Indian parent were defined as mulattoes, whether the other parent was black or white. So if you get an Indian, which is a so-called Negro, right, with another black or another so-called Indian, right, you know, they play with all these words here, but we're talking about the same people. They considered that a mulatto just because one was classified as an Indian. So it's not about just white people mixing with Africans. That's not the whole definition of mulatto. We see that it was applied different here as well. Moreover, all children were classified as mulattoes if they had one black parent, grandparent, or great-grandparent. All right, so if you had a little bit of so-called Negro in you, you were automatically a mulatto. Only a thin line, a bloodline, now separated a reservation Indian who possessed acknowledged rights and privileges from an off-reservation one who was legally designated as colored.
But guess what? The Jew don't have a bloodline. The Jew came from faith. I proved that. It wasn't a such ethnicity as a Jew. It wasn't a such ethnicity as a Jew. I think I done proved that over and over again.
He was legally designated as colored, they're talking about Indians, and had a much lower social status. Although the latter were not enslaved, some plantation owners probably forced their Indian servants into marriage with blacks so that the children could be claimed as slaves. Indian children claimed as slaves.
If you back up to pre-Jacksonian America, Jacksonian America, and the time of Indian removal, there's no advantage to identifying as Indian, unless it was very important for you to keep your family and kin and nation together. If you were most interested in remaining where you were, because that was sacred ground where you were living, because you did not want to be removed, then there's advantage of identifying as African, which means then you would not be rounded up, put on the rolls, and sent west, but you could stay right where you were. Of course, there is a disadvantage at this time of identifying as African because you run the risk then of being enslaved. But at least you wouldn't be removed necessarily.
Around the turn of the century, the Cherokee were once again part of a government operation known as the Dawes Commission. And at that time, the land which we held in common at one time for time memorial became individual allotments to Cherokee citizens. Indeed, the whole construction of the Dawes Roll, by which Indian nations were allotted, is based on the assumption that blood quantum, that is the degree of any particular ancestry, white, Indian, black, the degree to which you are one of those determines certain cultural characteristics. That is, how able you are to manage your allotment. It was at that time that the separation as citizens between black freedmen and Cherokee by blood was made. The Cherokee freedmen, if they were not also Cherokee by blood, were not given an allotment and thus were not part of the Dawes enrollment process.
A lot of knowledge that's been erased. The fact that freedman was never in my vocabulary, I never heard that in terms of a designation of my family history. My father always talked about being of part Choctaw ancestry, but his father, who died in 1940, my grandfather was on the roll as a Choctaw freedman. The last person in our family who died, who was on the Dawes rolls, just died this year. She was 94. She was a Choctaw freedman newborn. And when I spoke with her, and whenever I would talk to her, she would always talk about, well, Grandma was Indian, of course, but she never, and I'm part Indian, but she never referred to herself as freedman.
Continuing with Africans and Native Americans by Jack Forbes, he says many colored terms such as dark, swarthy, and brown are also quite ambiguous, as should be obvious, right? Because they will say a dark Indian. So we went over swarthy in past videos again. That just means